After 5 years of marriage and 5 years of saving, my wife and I finally hit our goal, $80,000 for a down payment on our first home. AITA for divorcing my wife after she spent all our savings on her brother's wedding? There's a moment in every marriage when you realize you don't actually know the person you married. It's not dramatic, usually. Not a fight or a confession or a betrayal. It's smaller than that. It's a look, a word, a silence that suddenly makes sense. It's the moment when all the little things you'd ignored, all the red flags you'd rationalized, all the doubts you'd buried, they rise up at once and demand to be seen. For me, that moment came on a Tuesday evening in October. I was sitting at our kitchen table, scrolling through our bank account on my phone, waiting for my wife to come home from work. We were supposed to be celebrating that night. After 5 years of saving, scrimping, and sacrificing, we'd finally hit our goal, $80,000 in our joint savings account. Enough for a down payment on our first house. Enough for the future we'd been building toward since our wedding day. I'd done the math that morning, calculated it 3 times just to be sure. $80,247.32. It was really there. Real money, hard-earned, carefully saved. Money from my IT job, from her teaching salary, from the side gigs and overtime and weekends we'd both worked. Money we'd said no to restaurants and vacations and new clothes for. Money that represented every sacrifice, every compromise, every dream. I was going to surprise her. I'd ordered her favorite takeout, picked up a bottle of wine, put candles on the table. I was going to show her the balance and watch her face light up, and then we were going to start looking at houses online together. We were finally going to do it. Finally going to be homeowners. Finally going to have something that was truly ours. But when I opened the banking app that afternoon, just to check one more time, to savor the number one more time, the number wasn't there. I stared at the screen, uncomprehending. $247.32. That's what it said. $247.32. The $80,000 was gone. Completely gone. Transferred out in 3 separate transactions over the previous week. All to the same account. An account I didn't recognize. For a long moment, I couldn't process what I was seeing. Fraud, I thought. Someone hacked us. Someone stole our money. I felt sick, dizzy, like the floor was tilting beneath me. I called the bank immediately, my hand shaking so badly I could barely press the numbers. The representative was calm, professional, sympathetic. But what she told me made no sense. Sir, these transfers were all authorized. They were made from your joint account using the online portal. The IP address traces to your home. The transactions were confirmed with the security questions. Whoever did this had your account information and your personal details. My wife, I said numbly. Could my wife have done this? If she's a signer on the account, yes. She would have full access. Is there a chance she made these transfers without telling you? I wanted to say no. I wanted to say that was impossible, that my wife would never do something like that, that we had no secrets, no hidden agendas, no financial surprises. We were a team. We were partners. We told each other everything. But even as I thought it, even as I said it, I remembered something. A conversation, a few weeks ago. My wife's brother, Derek, had gotten engaged. He'd called her, excited, talking about the wedding they wanted, the big one, the fancy one, the one with 400 guests and a live band and a venue that cost more than our first car. My wife had been happy for him, genuinely happy, but I'd noticed something in her expression when he talked about the cost. A flicker of worry. A shadow. I'd asked her about it later. Is Derek okay for money? Weddings are expensive. She shrugged, too casually. He'll figure it out. His fiancée's family has money, I think. They'll help. I believed her. Why wouldn't I? Derek was a grown man, 31 years old, with a decent job and a fiancée from a well-off family. His wedding wasn't our problem. His finances weren't our responsibility. But now, staring at the empty bank account, I wondered. I called my wife. Straight to voicemail. I texted. No response. I called her work. She'd left early, they said. A family emergency. Family emergency. I sat at the kitchen table, the candles unlit, the takeout getting cold, and I waited. For 2 hours, I waited. And I thought about all the things I'd ignored over the years. All the small signs that something was wrong. The way my wife always defended Derek, no matter what. The way she'd loan him money, small amounts, she said, nothing major, and never ask for it back. The way she'd drop everything to help him, even when it inconvenienced us. The way his problems always became her problems, his emergencies always became our emergencies. I told myself it was just family. Just love. Just the way she was raised. Her parents had always prioritized Derek. He was the baby, the only son, the one who could do no wrong. My wife had learned, from childhood, that her job was to take care of him. To smooth his path. To clean up his messes. I'd thought she'd outgrow it. I'd thought marriage, adulthood, building her own life, I'd thought those things would change the pattern. I was wrong. At 8 p.m., the front door opened. My wife walked in, and one look at her face told me everything I needed to know. She was pale, drawn, her eyes red from crying. She looked at me, at the untouched takeout, at the candles I'd never lit, and she knew. You found out, she whispered. The money, I said. $80,000. Gone. Transferred to Derek. For his wedding. She nodded, tears spilling down her cheeks. He needed it. The venue required a deposit. The caterer needed payment up front. His fiancé's family backed out, they had financial problems, they couldn't help like they promised. He was going to lose everything. He was going to lose her. I couldn't let that happen. You couldn't let that happen. I repeated the words slowly, tasting them, testing them. So you gave away our life savings. Without telling me. Without asking. Without a single conversation. He's my brother. He needed me. He's a grown man. He's 31 years old. He has a job. He has a fiancée. He has options. He could have scaled down the wedding. He could have waited. He could have figured it out himself. Instead, you gave him everything we had. Everything we worked for. Everything we sacrificed for. She was crying harder now, ugly crying, the kind that makes it hard to breathe. I know. I know. I'm sorry. I panicked. He was so desperate. He said if I didn't help him, he'd lose her, and I couldn't be the reason he was unhappy. I couldn't. You made me the reason, I said quietly. You made me the one who loses. You made our marriage the sacrifice for his wedding. It's not like that. We can save again. We're young. We have time. We can? We can't. I cut her off, my voice flat. We can't just save again. Do you know how long it took us to get that money? 5 years, Sarah. 5 years of saying no to everything. 5 years of watching our friends go on vacations, buy new cars, eat at nice restaurants, while we stayed home and saved. 5 years of me working weekends, picking up extra shifts, missing time with you, all for that number. All for our future. And you gave it away in a week. Without telling me. Without even asking. She opened her mouth to respond, but I wasn't finished. That money wasn't just mine. It was ours. It was our house. Our security. Our children's college fund. Our retirement. It was every conversation we'd ever had about the future, every plan we'd made, every dream we'd shared. And you threw it away for a party. For one night. For your brother's ego. It wasn't like that. Then what was it like? Explain it to me. Make me understand how you could do this to us. To me. To our marriage. She couldn't. She stood there, crying, shaking, unable to find words that would make it right. Because there were no words. There was no explanation. There was only the truth: she'd chosen her brother over me. Over us. Over everything we'd built. That night, I slept on the couch. The next morning, I called a lawyer. The days that followed were a blur of anger and grief. I went through the motions of work, of eating, of sleeping, but I was barely present. My mind was stuck on a loop, replaying every moment, every conversation, every sign I'd missed. Sarah tried to talk to me. She apologized constantly, begged for forgiveness, promised to make it right. Derek would pay us back, she said. He'd signed our agreement. He'd start making payments as soon as he could. It would just take time. How much time? I asked. A year? 5 years? 10? By the time he pays us back, house prices will have gone up. Interest rates will have changed. Our timeline is destroyed. He'll pay. I know he will. He's my brother. Your brother who's never paid back a dime he's borrowed. Your brother who's been living off your parents' goodwill his whole life. Your brother who thought it was okay to let his sister bankrupt herself for his wedding. She flinched, but didn't argue. She couldn't. We both knew I was right. The agreement she'd made Derek sign was meaningless. It wasn't notarized, wasn't legally binding, wasn't worth the paper it was written on. Derek could ignore it whenever he wanted, and there was nothing we could do. I asked to see it. She hesitated, then pulled it from her purse. I read it, and my stomach dropped. The repayment schedule was laughable, $200 a month, starting when he could. At that rate, it would take over 30 years to pay back. 30 years. Derek would be in his 60s. We'd be in our 50s. Our children, if we had them, would be grown. This is a joke, I said. This isn't a repayment plan. This is a promise to maybe, eventually, if it's convenient, throw us some pocket change. It's something. It's a start. It's nothing. It's less than nothing. It's insulting. I handed the paper back to her. I'm still seeing the lawyer. Her face crumpled. Please. Don't do this. We can fix this. We can get through this. I love you. Love isn't enough, Sarah. Love doesn't pay the bills. Love doesn't build a future. Love doesn't fix betrayal. I left before she could respond. I couldn't look at her anymore. Couldn't see the woman I'd married, the woman I'd loved, the woman who'd destroyed us. The lawyer's name was Margaret Chen. She was sharp, direct, and didn't waste time with sympathy. She listened to my story without interrupting, then leaned back in her chair and let out a long breath. This is going to be messy, she said. Not legally, the law is clear on marital assets. But emotionally. Practically. The money is gone. Even if you sue her brother, which you could try, recovering it will take years and cost more than it's worth. The question is what you want to do about the marriage. I want out, I said. I can't stay with someone who would do this. Margaret nodded slowly. I understand. But I need you to be sure. Divorce is permanent. It's expensive. It's exhausting. And once you start this process, there's no going back. I'm sure. Okay. Then let's talk about next steps. The next steps involved paperwork, filings, and a conversation I'd been dreading, telling our families. Sarah's parents called me first. Her mother was crying before I even said hello. How could you do this? She asked. How could you abandon her over money? Money can be replaced. Marriage is forever. Your daughter gave away $80,000 without telling me. Money we saved for 5 years. Money for our house, our future, our family. She didn't consult me. Didn't warn me. Just handed it over to Derek like it was nothing. He's her brother. Family helps family. Family communicates. Family makes decisions together. Family doesn't betray each other. The conversation went nowhere. Her parents couldn't see past their own beliefs, that Derek came first, that family obligation trumped everything, that I was being unreasonable and cruel. I hung up feeling more alone than ever. My own parents were supportive, but worried. "Are you sure?" my mother asked. "Marriage is hard. People make mistakes." "This wasn't a mistake, Mom. This was a choice. A series of choices. She chose him over me, over us, over everything we built. I can't come back from that." My father, usually quiet, spoke up. "You have to do what's right for you. But remember, divorce changes everything. Friends will take sides. Family will divide. Holidays will never be the same." I know. But staying in a marriage with no trust, no respect, no partnership, that's not living. That's just existing. They didn't argue. They just held me and let me cry. Meanwhile, Sarah wasn't giving up. She texted constantly. Called. Left voicemails. Showed up at my work, begging me to talk. She enlisted friends to plead her case, to tell me I was overreacting, to remind me of the good times. "You're throwing away 5 years over money," one friend said. "Is that really who you are?" "No," I said. "I'm throwing away 5 years over betrayal. Over broken trust. Over the realization that I married someone who doesn't see me as a partner. If you can't understand the difference, I don't know what to tell you." The friend backed off. But the doubt lingered. Was I overreacting? Was I being too harsh? Should I give her a chance to make it right? Then Derek called me. I almost didn't answer. But something made me pick up, maybe the hope that he'd apologize, that he'd take responsibility, that he'd offer to fix things. Instead, he said, "I don't know why you're making such a big deal out of this. It's just money. My sister loves you. Isn't that enough?" I was speechless for a moment. Then, just money? $80,000. 5 years of savings. Our entire future. That's just money to you. It's not like she spent it on herself. She helped me. That's what family does. You should be proud of her, not punishing her. I should be proud that my wife gave away our life savings without telling me. Proud that she destroyed our plans, our trust, our marriage? For a wedding? For one night. It wasn't just a wedding. It was my wedding. My happiness. My future. And what about my happiness? My future? Our future? Does that not matter? Silence. Then, you're being dramatic. My sister deserves someone who understands family. Maybe this is for the best. He hung up. I stood there, phone in hand, and realized that I'd never, ever get through to them. To him, to Sarah, to her parents, they lived in a different world. A world where family meant sacrifice without question, where boundaries didn't exist, where my marriage was less important than Derek's party. That call was the confirmation I needed. I wasn't overreacting. I wasn't being dramatic. I was protecting myself, my future, my sanity, from people who would never see me as anything more than an accessory to their lives. I called Margaret the next day. "File the papers," I said. "I'm ready." Sarah was served with divorce papers on a Thursday afternoon. She called me within minutes, hysterical. "You actually did it. You actually filed. After everything, after all the years, all the love, all the memories, you're just throwing it away." "I'm not throwing it away, Sarah. You did that when you gave away our savings without telling me." I said I was sorry. I said I'd fix it. "What more do you want from me? I want you to understand. I want you to see that this wasn't about the money. It was about trust. About partnership? About the fact that you made a life-changing decision without me, and you don't even seem to get why that's a problem. I get it. I do. I made a mistake. A huge mistake. But people make mistakes. That doesn't mean you destroy everything. Some mistakes can't be undone. Some betrayals cut too deep. This is one of them. She was crying again, but I was numb to it now. The tears that had once moved me, that had once made me want to comfort her, now felt manipulative. Too little, too late. What about Derek's repayment plan? She asked. He's going to pay us back. We'll get the money eventually. His repayment plan is a joke and you know it. $200 a month, starting when he can? That's not a plan. That's a promise to maybe throw us scraps for the next 30 years. And even if he paid it all tomorrow, it wouldn't matter. The trust is gone. The marriage is gone. Money can't fix that. Then what can? Tell me what to do and I'll do it. I'll do anything. I thought about it. Really thought about what it would take for me to stay. Couples counseling? Years of therapy? A complete restructuring of how we made decisions, how we communicated, how we defined family. Could any of that actually work? Could I ever trust her again? I don't think there's anything, I said finally. I think the person I married, the person I thought I married, would never have done this. Would never have kept something so huge from me. Would never have chosen her brother over our future. That person doesn't exist. And I don't know who you are anymore. I'm still me. I'm still the woman who loves you. The woman who loves me doesn't destroy me and then ask me to be okay with it. She was quiet for a long moment. Then, softly, is there someone else? Is that what this is about? I almost laughed. Almost. No, Sarah. There's no one else. There's just me, alone, realizing that I've been alone in this marriage for a lot longer than I knew. That's not true. I've always been there for you. Have you? When have you ever put me first? When have you ever chosen us over your family? I can think of 100 times you dropped everything for Derek, for your parents, for anyone who asked. But when did you ever drop everything for me? When did you ever put our needs ahead of theirs? Silence. She couldn't answer. Because we both knew the truth. The divorce proceedings moved forward. Sarah tried to fight it at first, hired her own lawyer, filed responses, made demands. But eventually, reality set in. The money was gone. The trust was broken. There was nothing left to save. The hardest part wasn't the legal stuff. It was the unraveling of a life. Dividing up the things we'd accumulated together. Deciding who got the couch we'd picked out, the dishes we'd registered for, the photo albums from our wedding. It was the slow, painful process of untangling 5 years of shared existence. Sarah's family made it worse. Her mother called me weekly, alternating between pleading and attacking. Her father sent angry emails. Derek posted passive-aggressive things on social media, painting me as the villain who'd abandoned his saintly sister over to little money. I stopped responding. I blocked numbers, muted accounts, retreated into my own world. I had to. If I'd engaged, if I'd fought back, I would have lost myself in the anger. And I was already losing so much. The day the divorce was finalized was anticlimactic. A judge signed some papers. A clerk stamped them. And just like that, 5 years of marriage was over. I sat in my car outside the courthouse, alone, and I waited to feel something. Relief? Grief? Closure? But all I felt was empty. Hollow. Like someone had scooped out everything inside me and left nothing but echoes. I thought about Sarah. About the woman I'd fallen in love with, the woman I'd promised to spend my life with. I thought about our wedding day, the way she'd looked at me, the way I believed, truly believed, that we'd grow old together. I thought about the money. $80,000. 5 years of sacrifice. Gone. But more than the money, I thought about the betrayal. The secret. The choice she'd made without me. The message it sent, that our marriage, our partnership, our shared future, none of it mattered as much as her brother's happiness. Could I ever have gotten past that? Could therapy, time, repentance have fixed it? I'd never know. Because I wasn't willing to try. And maybe that made me the bad guy in some people's eyes. Maybe that made me the one who gave up, who didn't fight hard enough, who threw away a marriage over money. But I knew the truth. It wasn't about the money. It was about trust. And once trust is gone, what's left? I started the car and drove away from the courthouse. Away from Sarah. Away from the life we'd built. Toward whatever came next. The year after the divorce was the hardest of my life. I moved into a small apartment, nothing like the house we'd dreamed of, just a temporary place to land while I figured out my next steps. The walls were white and bare, the furniture minimal, the silence oppressive. At night, I'd lie awake and listen to the sounds of other people living their lives, couples arguing, children laughing, televisions playing, and I'd feel the weight of my aloneness like a physical thing. Work became my salvation. I threw myself into projects, took on extra assignments, volunteered for anything that would keep me busy. My boss noticed, appreciated, promoted me. By the end of the year, I was making more money than ever before. But it felt hollow. What was money for, if not to build a life with someone? What was success, if there was no one to share it with? I started therapy. It took me months to admit I needed it, but once I started, I wondered why I'd waited so long. My therapist, Dr. Reeves, helped me untangle the knots in my head, the anger, the grief, the guilt, the endless what-ifs. You did the right thing, she said, more than once. For yourself. For your future. Staying in a marriage with no trust would have destroyed you slowly, over years. You chose to feel the pain all at once instead of spreading it out for a lifetime. But was it the right thing? So many people think I overreacted. That I gave up too easily. Other people don't get to define your boundaries. Only you know what you can live with. Can you honestly say you could have trusted her again? Truly trusted her, with no lingering doubt, no resentment, no fear. I thought about it. Imagine staying, trying to rebuild. Imagine the years of vigilance, of checking bank accounts, of wondering what else she might be hiding. Imagine the slow poison of suspicion eating away at whatever love remained. No, I said. I couldn't. Then you made the right choice. The hard choice. But the right one. Sarah moved on faster than I expected. Within 6 months of the divorce, she was dating someone new, a friend of Derek's, actually. I heard through mutual friends that they were serious, that she was happy, that she'd finally found someone who understood family. I tried not to let it bother me. Tried to tell myself that her happiness wasn't my concern anymore. But it stung, knowing that she could replace me so quickly. That our 5 years together could be so easily set aside. Derek's wedding happened. I saw photos on social media, posted by people who'd forgotten to block me. It was everything they'd wanted, the big venue, the live band, the 400 guests. Sarah was in every picture, beaming, beautiful, the maid of honor in a dress that probably cost more than my monthly rent. I wondered, looking at those photos, if she thought about me. About us. About the money that had paid for that perfect day. I wondered if Derek ever thanked her. If he ever acknowledged the sacrifice she'd made. If he ever planned to pay back a single dollar. I never found out. I blocked them all eventually, Sarah, Derek, her parents, their friends. I couldn't keep torturing myself with glimpses of a life I'd been excluded from. The money never came back. Derek made a few payments at first, $200 here, $200 there, but they stopped after 3 months. When Sarah asked about it, he said he'd had unexpected expenses, that he'd catch up later. Later never came. I could have sued him. My lawyer said I had a case, that I could probably win a judgment. But it would have meant more legal fees, more stress, more time spent in a past I was trying to escape. And even if I won, collecting would be nearly impossible. Derek had no assets, no savings, no steady income. He'd just declare bankruptcy and walk away. I let it go. Not because I was generous, not because I forgave him, but because I needed to move on. Holding on to the anger, chasing the money, it would have kept me tethered to them forever. And I wanted to be free. The hardest part of the fallout wasn't the money. It wasn't even the divorce. It was the isolation. Friends who'd known us as a couple didn't know how to be friends with just me. Invitations dried up. Group texts went quiet. I became the awkward third wheel, the reminder of a relationship that had failed. Some people took sides. Sarah's friends, predictably, rallied around her. They posted supportive messages, took her out for girls' nights, made sure she knew she was loved. My friends, the ones I'd thought were mine, were more complicated. Some stayed neutral, which felt like betrayal. Others quietly drifted away, unwilling to choose. By the end of that year, my social circle had shrunk dramatically. But the people who remained, the ones who'd called to check on me, who'd invited me over even when it was awkward, who'd listened without judgment, those people became my anchors. They reminded me that I wasn't alone, even when it felt like I was. One of them, a friend named Marcus from work, became especially important. He'd been through his own divorce a few years earlier, and he understood the particular loneliness of it. We'd grab dinner after work, watch games on weekends, talk about nothing and everything. He never pushed me to get over it or move on. He just was there. Present. Steady. "You're going to be okay," he told me one night, after too many beers. "It doesn't feel like it now, but you will be. You're going to build something new. Something better. And one day, you're going to look back at this and realize it was the best thing that could have happened." I wanted to believe him. I wanted to believe that the pain would fade, that the emptiness would fill, that I'd find a way to trust again. But in the dark of that first year, hope was hard to hold on to. Then, 11 months after the divorce, something unexpected happened. Something that changed everything. I met Elena at a coffee shop on a rainy Saturday afternoon. I was there grading papers. I'd started teaching a night class at the local community college, something to fill the empty hours and bring in extra money. She was there reading, a battered paperback in one hand, a latte in the other. The shop was crowded, and the only free seat was at my table. She asked if she could sit. I said yes. We exchanged polite smiles and returned to our respective activities. But then she laughed at something in her book, a real laugh, warm and genuine, and I looked up. She caught me looking and smiled again. And somehow, that led to conversation. About the book, a mystery novel, about the weather, terrible, about the coffee, excellent. By the time we left, 2 hours later, we'd exchanged numbers. Elena was nothing like Sarah. She was quiet where Sarah was outgoing, thoughtful where Sarah was impulsive, careful where Sarah was reckless. She worked as a librarian, loved dogs and hiking and old movies, and had a calm presence that made me feel, for the first time in years, at peace. We took things slow. Very slow. I'd been burned, and I wasn't about to rush into anything. We dated for 6 months before I introduced her to my friends. A year before I told her about my marriage. She listened without judgment, without pressure, without trying to fix anything. "That sounds incredibly painful," she said when I finished. "I'm sorry you went through that. I'm sorry I'm bringing all this baggage into something new." She smiled. "Everyone has baggage. The question isn't whether you have it. It's whether you're willing to work through it together. I am, if you are." That was 2 years ago. Today, Elena and I live together in a small house, not the house I dreamed of with Sarah, but something better. Something ours. We have a dog, a garden, a life built slowly and carefully on a foundation of trust. We also have a joint bank account. Yes, after everything, I was willing to try again. But we set ground rules. Major financial decisions require both signatures. Anything over a certain amount gets discussed. Transparency isn't optional, it's essential. Elena understands this. She doesn't resent the boundaries or the conversations. She sees them not as lack of trust, but as evidence of growth. We're building something together, brick by brick, and we're both committed to protecting it. Sarah reached out once, about a year ago. A long email, full of apology and regret and what ifs. She'd finally left Derek's orbit, she said. Finally seen the pattern. Finally understood what she'd done. I'm not asking you to come back, she wrote. I know that bridge is burned. I just needed you to know that I get it now. I get what I lost. And I'm sorry. Truly, deeply sorry. I read the email 3 times. I felt the old anger stir, the old grief. But underneath them, something else, closure. The acknowledgement I'd never gotten. The apology I'd needed. I wrote back. Briefly. Kindly. I told her I wished her well, that I hoped she found peace, that I'd moved on and hoped she could too. I didn't mention Elena, or the house, or the life I'd built. Some things are too precious to share with the past. She replied with a simple thank you. That was the last I heard from her. Derek, I'm told, is divorced. The big wedding, the 400 guests, the love of his life, it lasted 18 months. His ex-wife cited financial irresponsibility and emotional manipulation. Apparently, the pattern continued. I don't feel satisfaction at that news. I don't feel vindication. I just feel distance. Like a story I used to know, told by someone I used to be. Elena and I got married last spring. Small ceremony, just our closest friends and family. My parents cried. Hers did too. Marcus was my best man, and his speech was so perfect I still get emotional thinking about it. At the reception, my mother pulled me aside. Are you happy? She asked. I looked across the room at Elena, laughing at something with her friends, radiant in a simple white dress. I thought about the journey that had brought me here, the pain, the loss, the healing, the growth. I thought about the money, the betrayal, the divorce. I thought about all of it. Yeah, Mom, I said. I really am. She hugged me, tight and warm, and whispered, I'm so glad. You deserve it. So, AITA for divorcing my wife after she spent our savings on her brother's wedding? I've had years to think about that question. Years to examine it from every angle, to consider the arguments on both sides, to wonder if I could have done things differently. And here's what I've concluded, the money was just the symptom. The real problem was the betrayal, the secrecy, the choice she made without me. The real problem was that she didn't see me as a partner. She saw me as an accessory to her family's needs. Could we have worked through it? Maybe. With years of therapy, with genuine change, with her finally setting boundaries with her family. But she wasn't ready for that then. Maybe she never would be. And I couldn't wait forever to find out. I chose myself. I chose my future. I chose the possibility of building something real with someone who would actually show up as a partner. And I found that. Against all odds, I found it. The question now isn't whether I was wrong. The question is what I've learned. And the answer is everything. I've learned that love isn't enough. You need trust, respect, communication, boundaries. You need two people who show up every day, who make choices together, who prioritize each other. I've learned that family obligations have limits. That saying no isn't selfish. That protecting your marriage isn't cruelty. I've learned that you can survive betrayal. That the pain doesn't last forever. That there's life after divorce, after loss, after everything falls apart. And I've learned that the hardest choices are often the right ones. That walking away from something broken is the only way to make space for something whole. Elena's calling me from the kitchen. Dinner's ready. The dog is barking. Life is ordinary and beautiful and exactly what I need. I'm not the asshole. I'm a man who chose himself, his future, his sanity. And I have no regrets. None at all. Which side of that story were you on? Let me know in the comments. And if you love diving into these Reddit rabbit holes with me, subscribe to Reddit Be Mine. We're building the best storytelling community on YouTube, and we'd love to have you. Click that sub button and stay tuned.